Admiral, I missed your opening statement. I've been busily trying to catch up and reading it, but I do want to thank you for your attention to the issues of maritime, the work that you did with us on the NDAA and the issues there. Moves it forward, and hopefully we'll be able to expand the maritime support for our military. Investing in our nation's inland and coastal waterways will always reduce roadway congestion and fatalities. The short sea shipping can be competitive, but it needs help. There are many different pieces to this. Army Corps of Engineers dredging programs or not, docks and the like that are not exactly or even close designed for the kind of infrastructure necessary for short sea, which is a whole lot different than across the ocean, ships and the infrastructure needed for that. It's interesting that the dredging issue in my district becomes very important. And it's not just for freight, but also for moving people. The ferry system in the San Francisco Bay Area sometimes doesn't work because the ferries can't even get to the dock. And so that brings us to the Army Corps of Engineers and their budget and the allocation of their funds. Also, I know this, the intersection or the exchange between Interstate 80 and 680 and in my district, Fairfield area, is probably going to be a multi-billion-dollar interchange when it's finished. I guess I'm pleased that we provided some $7 million for short sea shipping, which is some small fraction of the billions that'll be spent on one interchange, largely because of the truck traffic coming out of this San Francisco Bay Area. In any case, just a couple of questions. How do we make better use of the taxes that are presently collected, and is it necessary for us to find a way of avoiding the double taxation that will occur in short sea shipping? Could you go into that in a little detail?
To the extent I can, yes, sir. You know, as we've sort of discussed here earlier, that has long been an issue in short sea shipping, and that is the kind of the double jeopardy for harbor maintenance tax, that it gets tagged twice.
This is something that it comes to us, and your earlier testimony, once again, I apologize for missing. It should be the foundation for an amendment to our current tax law so that we don't double tax, so that we eliminate this financial disincentive. Also, I'm going to bring your attention, which I suspect you know, there's a very strong incentive to use the Port of Vancouver rather than the ports in Seattle because of that very same tax. So when that train arrives in the Midwest from Vancouver, maybe that tax ought to apply when it crosses the border. I don't think the MCA took that up, but it is an issue that harms the industry on the West Coast. What's it going to take here? Is it going to take direct subsidies to the shipper? Does it take better infrastructure? Where would you suspect we spend the next $7 million or 20 or 21 million?
In terms of marine highways,
yes,
specifically? Well, I think I'm always siding on the entrepreneurial sort of spirit in this country. Just about all of these projects, you know, that are up and running now, 7 that are running, and the many 25 that are approved, and probably another 30 that are in the queue, are all somebody's brainchild. You know, they all looked at a situation and said, that makes more sense to move it by water. And now figuring out the business case to make that happen, you know, it takes a while to do it. It doesn't work in every case, but there have been, you know, we have good examples of where it makes great sense. Some places should not probably ship by water. It just doesn't work. But I think increasingly, as we see the costs mounting and the, you know,
well, is it possible for the construction of the vessels themselves We've had programs in the past that supported the construction of vessels. Is that a good place to invest?
Yeah, you know, building Jones Act vessels of the size that we're talking about here, tugs and barges for the most part, you know, that's not really an issue. The rest of the world doesn't build tugs and barges as well as we do for the cost that we do. We're very competitive. Our shipbuilding industry is very competitive in tug and barges. So having to provide a lot of building subsidies, I don't know that that's specifically the answer. I certainly in the international side, it's
just a couple of, one final point rebuilding our maritime industry requires specific legislative support for the industry. Next week, we will be introducing the Energizing the American Shipbuilding Industry. We appreciate your support for that, and the members, many of the folks that are here on the dais, for their support, and folks in the audience. That will provide at least many of the jobs and much of the industrial construction of the ships. So we'll be working on that, and it may be fit into this. Thank you very much for your testimony. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.